One other question in the global context before I move back to the domestic company context. Somebody's asked, what is the possibility of collaboration between various countries and companies? This has been kind of discussed a lot over the last 2 days. Our former President Abdul Kalam talked about the whole virtual global network. And I think most of us as organizations within this industry are experimenting, and in many cases very successfully, with global delivery platforms. So whether it's multiple countries employing local talent across the world, or indeed it's the whole disaggregation of the development process where you can do major portions of design in various parts of the world, I think we're seeing that happen, so I don't think we need to deliberate that anymore in this session. Two interesting questions which I really want to throw open to the whole panel. One is, of course, somebody says that, look, how about women in IT and BPO? I mean, we all talk about the fact that, yes, there is 25 to maybe 50% in IT BPO companies, albeit at the junior levels and creeping into middle management. How do we ensure that there are more women leaders in the boardroom level as far as the IT industry is concerned? Subrata, any views on this?
Let me first give you some statistics here. When we started 8 years back, we had a dismal 12% of Mindtree as women. And we said, well, must make it 20% in 5 years. The good news is today we are about 25% women. But the even better news is that as the campus intake increases, what happens is we are seeing more women join the engineering stream, which was not happening earlier. So with the current campus intake, what is ending up happening from campus, 47% of them are women, which means that in 2 years' time, 1 in every 3 engineers in Mindtree will be a woman. But the stat is even better in companies like Infosys or companies like probably Wipro, I don't know about TCS. Now, this is good news and not so good news, because what's happening is that so women coming into the workforce is an absolute given. The workforce has to now re-engineer itself to make sure that it makes the best use of them and provides them the best place to grow and to flourish. But before I come to the good news and bad news, let me make an overview statement here. If you look at developed countries, one of the indications of development or indicators of development is the percentage of women at work. So if you look at developed countries, 50% of all white-collar work in developed countries belong to women. Now, in India, only 18% of the organized workforce is women. And in India, close to 50% of the 1 billion population is actually women. So there is huge headroom out there. But the issue is, when you look at IT and BPO as industry, we may become the first industry in the entire country, in its history, that will actually break that gender barrier. My sense is in 2 to 3 years' time, we'll be the first industry where close to 50% of our workforce will be women and will truly represent the population of the country. That's the good news. The tough part is that while parents encourage their daughter, the girl child, to take an MCA course or an engineering course, after 2 or 3 years, when the person is blossoming as a professional, the parents' primary focus in life becomes, how do we get this child married? Okay. And there the girl child suffers from severe stereotypes, both inside the company and outside the company. Inside the company, what happens? Many male managers begin to think that the primary purpose that this individual is in this workplace is to wait for such time that she will settle down matrimonially, because who knows after that where she will relocate. In the event of a marriage in India, the boy does not relocate, the girl relocates. So we give our best to this young engineer, train her, put her under a mentorship program, and she is beginning to blossom, and she comes and says, I'm getting married, I have to go to Pune. Now you can't start a center in Pune because you're losing her. So as a result, what happens is that, there is a lot of downstream implications, and we need to battle this. We need to battle this so that they look at themselves as professionals at the entry level and not somebody waiting to get married. Now, as they go up, the good thing is that there is no glass ceiling in this industry at least, because this industry is fairly desexed at the top. You know, we are colorblind, we are desexed, and that is the secret of our success. But when you go, you know, at the level of a vice president or a senior vice president or CEO of a company, the two things that really are coming in the way. One is the whole issue of inadequate role modeling. You know, there are success stories, but those success stories are not being held out, and the messaging not being done properly at the academic level and at the social level. And second thing that is happening is that there is inadequate addressing of gender issues at work, because the Indian male professional is not actually raised to look at the female professional counterpart as a professional, first looks at that individual as a female. So because in our mindset we are designed to look at people either as mother, wife or sister. We do not, you know, look at them as anybody else. So the workplace is beginning to cope, and there are issues which are serious issues, and there are issues of, you know, things like sexual harassment, etc., which has so far not been discussed about, not talked about. Now with 47%, 50% of the workplace is becoming women, all these issues will come to the forefront, and these cannot be handled by HR department. I think leaders will need to begin to engage with some of these issues. Leaders will have to take positions. Leaders have to show the way. And some amount of thought leadership and engagement would be required for that.
I think that's very interesting. And I have anecdotal evidence to the contrary. I have a cousin who's a IIT, IIM, got married to this very bright woman professional, and she decided to relocate to Chicago. He quickly followed, couldn't get a job. Fortunately, they had a child, and he spent the next 3 years being nanny to the youngster. 2 years back, he wrote me a mail saying, "Oh my God, my kid is now 3 years old. What do I do?" And they had another child, so he lived happily ever after. So I'm hoping that many of us will get emancipated enough to make sure that we have other roles to play in our lives. Okay. I'm going to ask Leo a question here, and this is, I'm not putting you on the spot, but somebody asked a very interesting question, saying, when will we see among the top 10 Indian IT and BPO companies a non-Indian as CEO? Leo, what do you think?
I think that's going to happen very soon, actually. It's consistent with the points I was making about the new business models that are going to define the leaders of tomorrow in the industry. I think these are going to be truly global companies. And I think as a consequence of that, you are going to see a global leader emerge. So I would stick my neck out and say probably 12 to 18 months from now, you will see a phenomenon of that kind.
He knows something we don't. Jerry?
No, I think it's going to happen. You're already seeing it in a variety of places where, you know, you have somebody like Alan in high up in Tata Sons as a board member. The head of Indian Hotels is the CEO is an American. So basically, in industry after industry, you're going to start seeing that this is global talent. My own successor in Emphasis is actually a Singaporean, of Indian origin, but a Singaporean. So you can see the wind blowing, and I think it's good because it creates the kind of creative ferment that we want.
Great. I have one last question out of the 10 questions, and that's the most interesting one, so I don't want any of you guys to leave. But I'm going to throw it open right now. Anybody who has a pressing issue that you want to ask, the organizers have given me another 15 minutes to take in any questions you have from the house. Yes, sir, go ahead. Can we get a mic there, please? Yeah.